I get out of my bed, and that's when I saw not a little person, but a big person. When he saw me, he panicked, and he charged at me, grabbed me, put me down. Get down to the ground! I'm gonna kill you.
Please don't raise your voice, Sutton. I'm not in a place where I appreciate that. I had a strong reaction when you did it.
What makes a Real Housewives couple unforgettable? Love, loyalty, or luxury? For Dorit and PK Kemsley, it's none of those. Instead, it's the endless accusations of fakery on the brink.
She filed for divorce one day after he was snapped making out with former Amazing Race contestant Shanna Wall. Many online have pointed out Shanna, who once dated.
Back in November, I was in New York City and I was asked by Dorit if I could stay an extra 4 days to do her glam for Watch What Happens Live, as well as a photo shoot that she had taken place during her stay. Dorit offered to pay for my hotel room for the duration of our stay, which was 3 nights, 4 days. She offered to send over her credit card so I could extend my stay. However, the hotel we were staying at needed a credit card authorization form filled out since she wasn't there to do it in person.
From shifting accents to lawsuits, flashy lifestyles to doubted scandals, they've built a reputation less for authenticity and more for performance.
The filing comes just 1 day after PK was spotted on a PDA-packed date with Shanna Wall, a former Amazing Race.
It was a text from Dorit saying that her credit card was indeed charged for my room charges, and she sent me the bank statements of them being processed on December 9th. I then immediately went to my Amex account and I saw that the room charge that I had been charged was deleted and removed from my statement. So I immediately sent a sincere apology, you guys could read it right here, and sent her updated invoice removing the room charge immediately. This is when Dorit keeps going on and on saying that I used her card without her permission and that I called the hotel myself and I demanded that they remove the charge from my card and charge her card without her.
When Dorit Kemsley first arrived on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in season 7, she seemed tailor-made for the role. She appeared with her handsome British husband, Paul PK Kemsley, her children in matching designer outfits, and a wardrobe that screamed wealth and luxury. From the very beginning, the Kemsleys set themselves up as the new power couple of the show. Chic, stylish, and dripping with affluence. But even in her earliest episodes, cracks began to show. Dorit's ever-shifting accent became a running joke. Sometimes she sounded vaguely European, other times more British, and occasionally she slipped back into her natural American tone. Viewers and castmates alike wondered, was this her authentic voice, or a carefully crafted persona to make her seem more worldly? Lisa Rinna, Erica Jane, and other housewives openly mocked her speech patterns, and it became a defining trait of her early reputation. Meanwhile, PK was introduced as a wealthy businessman with major connections, most notably as the manager of music legend Boy George, who even lived with them at one point. The show painted a picture of a couple whose life revolved around international business, glamorous dinner parties, and endless luxury. But to some fans, it felt a little too curated, like a glossy magazine spread that didn't quite match reality. This was the foundation of the Kemsleys' public image, a glamorous couple with a perfect life, but one that many viewers suspected was more performance than truth. From her peculiar accent to his big claims about success, Dorit and PK quickly became symbols of what audiences would later call the fakest couple in Housewives history. Behind every glam Housewives entrance, there's usually a backstory, and PK's wasn't exactly spotless. Before the Kemsleys planted themselves in Beverly Hills, PK had already made headlines in the UK for all the wrong reasons. He was a high-flying property developer whose empire came crashing down during the 2008 financial crisis. Reports revealed that he declared bankruptcy in London, leaving behind debts estimated at tens of millions of pounds. Among the creditors were major institutions like Barclays Bank, as well as smaller businesses who claimed they never saw a dime. When he reemerged on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills years later, PK's introduction gave little hint of those troubles. Instead, he was portrayed as a savvy businessman and successful music manager, with Boy George's presence in their home adding legitimacy to the story. For viewers who didn't know his UK history, PK came across as a man who had made it. The kind of wealthy figure perfectly suited to the housewives' lifestyle, but fans who dug deeper quickly noticed a disconnect. How could a man with such a public financial downfall suddenly be living in sprawling Beverly Hills mansions, throwing elaborate parties, and buying his wife head-to-toe designer labels? The numbers didn't seem to add up. Adding to the suspicion were ongoing lawsuits and tax liens that surfaced while the Kemsleys were already on Bravo. Reports showed they owed the IRS and the state of California millions in back taxes, casting doubt on the fortune they flaunted on camera. Critics accused them of playing rich for the cameras while juggling financial chaos behind the scenes. This contradiction, glossy displays of wealth on Bravo versus messy court filings in real life, cemented the narrative that PK and Dort were selling a mirage. It wasn't just about money, it was about the couple's credibility. For many fans, the Kemsleys represented the ultimate housewives illusion, a glamorous lifestyle that looked flawless on screen, but under the surface was one lawsuit away from collapse. If PK's finances raised eyebrows, Dorot's speech patterns practically became a franchise-wide punchline. Almost immediately after her debut, viewers noticed something peculiar. Her accent didn't sound real. Dort explained that her unusual way of speaking came from her international lifestyle. Born in Connecticut to Israeli parents, time spent abroad, and marriage to a British husband. But the explanation never quite stuck with fans or her castmates. Her accent seemed to change depending on the situation. At times, she leaned heavily into a European-British lilt, especially when speaking about luxury or culture. Other times, her voice slipped back into a very American tone, especially when she was emotional or arguing. Lisa Rinna and Erica Jane openly mocked her speech in confessionals. And even Bravo editors leaned into the joke by cutting together clips that highlighted how inconsistent Dorot's accent really was. Social media erupted with memes calling it the disappearing accent, and it became one of the most defining quirks of her Rob presence. But what might have been just a funny quirk took on deeper meaning in the context of the couple's broader image. Fans began to argue that Dorot's fluctuating accent was symbolic of something bigger, that she was performing an identity for television just as she and PK were performing wealth. To many viewers, her voice wasn't just a matter of linguistics, it was a metaphor for the couple's entire brand. The question lingered: if Dort couldn't even stick to one accent, what else about the Kemsleys was a carefully crafted performance? On The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Dort and PK were often filmed against the backdrop of sprawling mansions, manicured gardens, and glittering interiors. From the moment Dort was introduced, Bravo leaned into showcasing her luxury lifestyle, chic kitchens, custom closets, and backyard pools that looked like five-star resorts. The image was clear. This was a couple living at the top tier of Beverly Hills wealth. But outside the Bravo bubble, the reality told a very different story. Almost as quickly as the show highlighted their extravagant homes, reports surfaced that the Kemsleys were facing foreclosure proceedings, lawsuits, and mounting debts. At one point, a $6.5 million Encino mansion they were living in was revealed to have been purchased under complicated arrangements, leading some fans to question whether they actually owned the home at all or were simply staging it for television appearances. Then came the tax liens. Public filings showed that Dort and PK owed millions to the IRS and the state of California. Headlines detailing their legal battles clashed dramatically with the image of seamless wealth they projected on screen. Even as Dort bragged about her designer wardrobe and their house became the setting for glamorous parties, the couple was being dragged into court for unpaid debts. The contradiction was impossible to ignore. Luxurious mansions on Bravo, but messy legal paperwork in reality. For fans, it reinforced the suspicion that the Kemsleys weren't just exaggerating their wealth. They were carefully constructing a lifestyle illusion that only existed as long as Bravo's cameras were rolling. In the court of public opinion, those lavish homes became less a symbol of success and more a stage set in the production of the fakest couple in Housewives history. No real housewife is complete without a business storyline, and for Dort, that came in the form of Beverly Beach by Dort, a swimwear line that Bravo cameras followed closely. The brand was pitched as a passion project, drawing from Dort's background in fashion and her supposedly global perspective on style. We saw launch parties, photo shoots, and plenty of designer swimsuits showcased on the show. On screen, Beverly Beach looked like the beginning of a thriving empire, but off screen, the story quickly unraveled. In 2018, Dort was sued by her former business partner Ryan Horn, who alleged that he invested heavily into the brand, only to be cut out of profits. According to court filings, Horn claimed he fronted hundreds of thousands of dollars for the swimwear line. Yet Dort and PK failed to deliver on financial promises. The case was messy and public, dragging the Kemsleys' name into yet another round of negative press. To many fans, this lawsuit confirmed what they already suspected, that Beverly Beach was less a legitimate business venture and more of a Bravo storyline designed to make Dorrit look like a successful entrepreneur. Critics argued that the brand's glamorous on-screen image was just another mirage, like their homes and their marriage. In October 2021, Dorrit Kemsley made headlines across the world when reports broke that she had been the victim of a terrifying armed home invasion. According to police and initial media coverage, 3 men broke into the Kemsleys' Encino mansion while Dorrit and her children were inside. The men allegedly threatened her life before making off with expensive handbags, jewelry, and other valuables. Bravo cameras were rolling just days later, capturing Dorrit tearfully recounting the experience to her castmates. On the surface, the incident seemed like an all-too-real reminder that reality stars' flashy lifestyles can attract dangerous attention. Dorrit was immediately met with an outpouring of sympathy from fellow housewives and fans who were horrified by the ordeal. PK, who was in London at the time, rushed home, later making statements about his wife's bravery and their family's resilience. But it didn't take long for speculation to swirl. Some fans found the timing suspicious. The invasion happened right as RHOB was gearing up for another season, ensuring the drama would play front and center on Bravo. Others questioned why the burglars allegedly left behind items of significant value, or how Dorrit emerged unharmed despite claims the men threatened her at gunpoint. On social media, conspiracy theories erupted, suggesting the incident had been exaggerated or even staged for sympathy, insurance claims, or storyline relevance. PK's demeanor didn't help quiet the rumors. Days after the robbery, he appeared at public events, smiling for cameras and even joking with paparazzi, behavior many critics felt clashed with the severity of what supposedly happened. Tabloids fanned the flames further, with headlines debating whether the Kemsleys were victims or opportunists. While there has never been concrete evidence to suggest the robbery was faked, the incident added to the couple's reputation as too scripted to be true. For their critics, the home invasion wasn't just a tragedy. It was yet another example of how Dorrit and PK's lives seemed to straddle the line between reality and performance. Marital drama is practically a Housewives tradition, and for Dorrit and PK, it became another storyline that many fans struggled to take at face value. Over the years, whispers of a crumbling marriage circulated both on and off the show. From PK's alleged financial missteps to Dorrit's icy reactions during reunions, Bravo often hinted at cracks in their relationship. The biggest wave of speculation hit in 2023, when rumors surfaced that the couple was heading toward divorce. Tabloid outlets ran stories claiming Dorrit had quietly met with lawyers, while Bravo teased the tension in trailers, lingering shots of Dorrit crying, dramatic voiceovers about trust issues, and conversations between housewives questioning if the Kemsleys' marriage could survive. But just as quickly as the rumors gained traction, Dorrit and PK went on a full media tour to shut them down. They released joint statements insisting they were still together and working through challenges like any couple. On Watch What Happens Live, Dorrit even laughed off the divorce chatter, dismissing it as exaggerated gossip. To fans, this push and pull felt eerily convenient. The rumors spiked just as a new season was premiering, creating buzz for the show. Then, the denials landed at the perfect time, keeping the couple relevant while still maintaining their carefully curated image of stability. For critics, it looked like another classic Bravo maneuver. Drama amplified for the cameras, followed by strategic denials to keep viewers guessing. Whether the divorce talk had any truth or was simply manufactured tension, it reinforced the narrative that Dorrit and PK were always ready to play into a storyline. In the eyes of many, their marriage drama wasn't just real life, it was reality TV theater. If PK's financial baggage and Dorrit's accent were enough to keep fans skeptical, rumors about PK's behavior with other women only added fuel to the fire. Over the years, gossip blogs and Bravo fan pages have floated claims that PK was a little too friendly with certain housewives. One recurring story suggested that he had exchanged flirty texts with other women in the Bravo universe, sometimes even Dorrit's co-stars. Though no scandal ever fully broke open, the whispers were enough to spark conversations among fans and cast members. Kyle Richards once hinted in a confessional that PK had a cheeky side, while Erica Jane wasn't shy about poking fun at his behavior during group dinners. Even when it came off as lighthearted banter, the undercurrent was clear. PK's charm sometimes crossed a line. Dorrit, for her part, always stood firmly by her husband, brushing off any suggestion of inappropriate behavior. On screen, she often doubled down on their love story, painting their marriage as solid and secure. But to critics, her constant defense only fueled the idea that the couple was maintaining a facade. Was Dorrit protecting her husband from genuine rumors? Or was she protecting the carefully built image of their perfect marriage? Even without concrete proof, the flirty text chatter became part of the Kemsleys' larger narrative. It wasn't about one scandalous message, it was about perception. And for many, that perception was just another sign that Dorrit and PK's relationship looked polished in public, but felt staged underneath. If there's one thing the Kemsleys understand, it's how to stay in the headlines. But unlike some housewives who control their narratives, Dorrit and PK often found themselves at the mercy of gossip columns and Bravo fan blogs. Every time Dorrit showed off a new designer wardrobe, gossip sites dissected her finances. Every time PK made a comment that bordered on inappropriate, it was spun into a headline about marital troubles. One infamous cycle came after PK's gambling debts made international news. British tabloids painted him as a man running from creditors, while US gossip outlets framed Dorrit as a woman hiding behind labels to distract from money woes. The couple denied the harshest claims, but the press rarely let them off the hook. Social media made things worse. Clips from RHOBH reunions or dinner parties were clipped, memed, and recirculated with captions like "the fakest couple in Housewives history." The more they tried to present a united front, the more fans accused them of acting for the cameras. In many ways, the media became the third player in their marriage. Every argument, every slip of the accent, every lawsuit turned into content that lived far beyond a single episode. And while some housewives thrive on tabloid notoriety, for Dorrit and PK, it only seemed to deepen the perception that their entire marriage was a carefully curated performance rather than a natural relationship. One of the most intriguing chapters in Dorrit and PK's Archhob storyline involved their connection to Erica Girardi, better known as Erica Jane. At first, Dorrit and Erica clashed. Remember the infamous Pantygate drama when PK couldn't stop commenting on Erica's lack of underwear? That feud nearly ended Dorrit's chance at fitting in with the group. But what followed raised even more eyebrows. As Erica's legal troubles and financial scandals became public, Dorrit and PK suddenly shifted from being critics to allies. The timing was suspicious to fans who felt the Kemsleys were trying to align themselves with whichever cast member gave them the most screen protection. Was it genuine friendship or opportunism at its finest? PK, in particular, played both sides. One moment he was mocking Erica's behavior at a dinner party, the next he was defending her on camera. This flip-flopping became a recurring pattern in the Kemsleys' social strategy, leaving many housewives and viewers wondering if they were ever truly loyal to anyone but themselves. To critics, this dynamic reinforced the idea of Dorrit and PK as performers. They weren't just shaping their marriage into a brand, they were also curating their friendships to maximize relevance and protect their own image. In a world where alliances can make or break a housewife, Dorrit and PK's shifting loyalties felt less like authenticity and more like survival tactics disguised as loyalty. Few storylines defined Dorrit Kemsley like her ever-changing accent. From the moment she joined RHOBH, fans noticed her peculiar speech pattern, a mix of American, British, and vaguely European tones. Dorrit attributed it to living abroad and being married to PK, who is British. But skeptics called it out as fake, a performance designed to make her stand out in a crowded cast. What made it worse was the inconsistency. In some interviews, Dorrit's accent sounded heavy and almost theatrical. In others, it slipped into her natural Connecticut American tone. Castmates like Kyle Richards and Lisa Rinna teased her about it on air, while fans turned her speech into memes that circulated long after episodes aired. PK's role in this storyline can't be overlooked either. He defended Dorrit's accent to the press and on social media, insisting it was authentic, but many believed he was playing along, enabling what they saw as one of reality TV's most bizarre performances. By this point, Dorrit and PK weren't just accused of being financially fake or emotionally fake, their very identities were questioned. To critics, the accent wasn't a harmless quirk. It symbolized the couple's overall image, polished, curated, and manufactured for maximum attention. At the end of the day, Dorrit and PK Kemsley's story is less about love and more about illusion. Whether it's finances, friendships, or even accents, their legacy on The Real Housewives will always circle back to one label: fake. But what do you think? Are they truly the fakest couple in Housewives history, or just misunderstood? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed this deep dive, and don't forget to subscribe for more Housewives drama.